Our next guest is a very talented photographer and creative director who's worked with the likes of Tegan and Sara, Paramore, Churches, and countless others. You can see her latest work in the visuals for Hayley Williams' new solo project. It's Lindsey Byrnes, as well as our good friend Misha Vladimirsky of Filterless. Hey guys, thanks for your time.
Hello.
Now, before we get started in the music, Lindsey, I gotta ask, I'm a big skateboarding fan. I go to X Games, I pretend to be a photographer there, and you got your start at Thrasher Magazine here in San Francisco, so I'm curious, did you start off intending to be a sports photographer, getting those action shots, and just fell into music accidentally?
Yeah, I just started as a hobby. You know, I was the marketing director. I was doing events. I was going places, and my boss, Fausto Patel, he gave me a camera and said, like, take pictures or whatever. And I just was really into Luke Ogden's photography, Lance Dawes' photography. Like they were the ones there at the time who were shooting, and I was like, oh, shooting, this is like, I can't believe you guys have a career doing this. This is wild, you know? So it wasn't necessary. It was photography in general, but it wasn't necessarily that I was out doing action stuff. And Luke, you know, I had access to film, and I think it was Luke had said, oh, do you want to go shoot this show at the Wiltern? And so they had a music section. So I didn't really feel like I was qualified to shoot action stuff. I tried a little bit, but not really. I felt like, oh, I can go shoot live music, and that's fun, you know. And I did it, and I found a way to connect with what was going on at the show. I felt like I was connecting in a different way, and it felt really good to me. And when I saw a photograph that I took published, I was like really into that. I was really into seeing my name in a photograph next to it, but that was not my job there. That was just kind of like extracurricular activity that I was doing.
I think a lot of people kind of end up in photography through other things than just being photographers. I started photography by being a photographer, but I think a lot of folks end up, you know, kind of finding its love because the camera itself kind of creates a different world. So, I mean, we can kind of transition into the conversation that we're going to have, which
Sure.
is your new project as the creative director for Hayley Williams. And, you know, how do you guys actually, how did the collaboration come about, and how do you actually collaborate with an artist of that, you know, magnitude that's done all of these other things, and how do you make it fresh and new and yours as a creative director? I know it's a big question, but
That's a big question. I have been working with Hayley through Paramore, or with Paramore. I think the first time that I photographed them, it was live. And I can't remember what year it was. I mean, let's just like say 2010, 2011. And they asked me to do a photo shoot in between, like a in between cycle photo shoot. And that was like where my opportunity was. And I think, if I could pinpoint it, I think that was it. And you know, I had been on that tour with Tegan and Sara, and so that's how we started working together. We did like a little shoot, and then it turned into a few more shoots, and like every now and again they would fly me somewhere, and I would do like a really quick shoot and get a t-shirt or whatever. And it's just been kind of over the years. I ended up going on tour with them, I guess shortly after that, to like Warped Tour for a week, and I did the Pacific Rim tour with them, and then we've just had this relationship. So when this project came about, I mean, we have a long-standing relationship. Me as a photographer, not as a creative director, not any other part of their project, just as a photographer.
how did the actual creative process take shape? Because I mean, I know that, you know, having that much like connection to an artist, it can either go either way. It could either be really, really painful or really amazing. So how did you guys actually, like, while working on the videos and the photos and the, you know, the cover art, how did you guys actually come up with it? And also one other interesting thing is, like, how did you relinquish control of the music videos to other directors as never been a creative director, but then being comfortable enough to let somebody else execute on your vision? Like, to me, that's probably the actual most important question to me. Because, I mean, as you say, there's these other people that executed on your vision, but you've never been a creative director.
Okay, that's a really good question. I think that over the years, and maybe you'll agree, I think that boiling down, press shoots to simply like, oh, I'm just doing like a press shoot. Like you are creative directing during these things. So I think that I've done creative direction, bringing in stylists, bringing up hair and makeup, creating various press photos or scenarios, or putting out the image of bands without the title of creative director. How I personally did it is that I'm really at the bottom, at the bare basic level. I'm a collaborator and I like collaborating. I love working with others. So I think that for me, that part wasn't the challenge. For me, the part, and also, I actually don't believe that I'm the creative director of this project. I believe Hayley is. I believe that everything with musicians, everything starts with the songs and with the music. And so that's where I start my creative process. Started it with Hayley, was like talking about the music, getting a really good understanding of what the songs were about and of what she's about and her influences for this part of the project, where she's come as an artist and where she's at, where she was at or is at, currently. And I think that that's really, really important. And I like to do that with any musician that I work with, before I go shoot press photos of, especially, one editorial is one thing, I'm telling them what to do, but their press photos is entirely different. It's communicating. Sorry?
It comes from the inside of them, really, because you're trying to translate whatever they are into a flat surface. Totally.
One image that they're going to use over and over and over to present their music. Like, they have to be really comfortable with that image. Yeah. And sometimes people care less, sometimes people care more. It's like always, every artist is different. So for Hayley, it was her giving me the lyrics to the songs, telling me what this is about. Also, I mean, this is also a project that I've known about since before, like, while it was in making.
That's a question that I actually had, which was the lyrics video, which Watch Me I Bloom. That was a really personal moment. You even say it in your post when you posted it on Instagram. How does that feel to actually record a really personal moment and then put it out there? And like, how did it feel? Like, what was the reaction of your friends? Of even like, how did Hayley feel about putting it out? Like, what's that? Because that's one thing of like knowing an artist so well and being in their personal space. How do you break that down and feel comfortable putting it out to the world?
By asking them, by asking her. We committed to doing 15 lyric videos, which is insane. And so she wanted to put it out in 3 parts. And so, we have 15 lyric videos, and something that was decided of how we were going to do the lyric videos. I don't even know how we came to this. She was filming stuff. And then I think she had said, I want the lyric videos to be in studio footage, and then I kind of took that. So that's her idea, right? In studio footage, simple. And then I took that idea and was like, okay, each song, we're going to have to, I would like each song to feel a little bit different, right? So each one kind of came about pretty naturally. I shot a lot of video footage on the 3 music videos that we did. So for the first part. And so it was a combination then of behind the scenes footage for Simmer, Leave It Alone, and Cinnamon mixed with studio footage. So those lyric videos were kind of written that way. And then the next 2, I can't even remember, man, we put out so much content. I'm like, But specifically the personal moment for Watch Me While I Bloom, you know, I was like, what do we do? Like, what do we do for this one in particular? And we have studio footage, which you see mixed in with that. And we had this personal moment. And I was like, I just called her and I said, dude, how would you feel about, you know, that when you showed me the song, about that being the music video and, or the, sorry, the lyric video mixed in with studio footage. She was like, oh, I love it. That's a great idea. You know, and that's what's so great about working with her is that, like we kind of have that groove, you know, and that's why she hired me, was to ask me to do this, was to like collaborate, like truly collaborate. And, you know, she throws out an idea and then I'm like, okay, what about this? Or, you know, it's not always like that. Sometimes I'll be like, what about this? And she's like, how about no? You know, so.
Well, I wanted to talk about the cover and how it came together, you know. You know, it definitely has some symbolism to it, just looking at it, because there is, you know, just the way it came together. So I'd love to find out what the symbolism means and how did the cover actually come together? Because, you know, it's such an important thing.
I think, like, interestingly enough, that was not going to be the cover originally. Hayley had another image in mind. We were encouraged by the record label to do another photo shoot because of how we had wanted to release, how Hayley had wanted to release the record. And when working with a record label, and I won't like get into too much detail, but there's like certain ways things have to get done in order to make certain things happen. So they encouraged us to have another photo shoot, and I'm really actually very, very grateful that they did, even though I was like kind of annoyed at first because I was like, we have so many photos. But being a collaborator, you know, means that I don't always know what's best. But I had this idea to use, she was sitting on my couch, which is over here, and she has these 3 tattoos, which are cover-up tattoos. And she was like this. And I just like had this idea. I was like, whoa, what if, she's always traditionally, if you look at stuff like, you know, with Paramore, she's always like kind of like painted on her face or had the glitter tears or like all of these different things. She's always played with her hair. And Brian O'Connor, who's the person who's set her looks with her, he was going to be on the photo shoot. And so I was like, whoa, like what if we got Brian to paint those squares on your face, you know, which it's a cover-up tattoo. So it was like a big ask for me to say like, hey, do you want to make, you want to make art out of that experience? And we just did it, right? We just did the idea. Brian thought, he was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And he, you know, put the squares on her face. He stripped her face of makeup and we shot the photos. And when I was looking through the photos, I was like, oh, dang, I think we have a potential other cover. And so I had a conversation with her. I said, you know, maybe you don't want to do this, but, you know, I think that this image is really strong. And I think that it could potentially be the cover of your record.
The creative process, it sounds like, because it comes from the heart for her, everything else needs to fall into place. Just like, you know, even you having to ask whether the tattoos can be in it is like, can she break that barrier? And obviously she could. So you guys got a really amazing cover.
This is really some great insight. And one question I had, Lindsey, you know, can we see you in any other videos? I know you're obviously prominently displayed in one.
Yes, but not in Hayley's videos. You could see me in Bleacher's video, I Want to Get Better, which was, yeah, I'm like I play the mom at the beginning of that. And what other music video? I was like, I think I was in a Guttermouth video. I think that was the band, like a bajillion years ago. Like, I don't even know if you can find it online.
Wow, you have a lengthy resume here. I introduced you as a photographer and creative director. I didn't know we were talking to Stacy's mom.
Yeah, you didn't know that I was Alicia Silverstone, did you? Or whatever her name was.
Not
Like,
at
I
all.
am like a video queen. over
Vixen.
here. Yeah, video vixen. Oh,
Lindsey Byrnes, Misha Vladimirsky of Filterless, thanks so much for your time, guys.
thank you.